Hey, Lucy. Hello, Acadia. I have for you today this second half of The Lost Stone, Kingdom of Wrenly. Here we go. Turn the camera around. Take my finger away from the camera lens. Here we go. So, like I said, Kingdom of Wrenly, The Lost Stone. It says The Lost Stone, Book 1. That's Prince Lucas. That's Clara. That's Lucas's horse, whose name is Ivan. Okay, they're looking for the Queen's lost emerald, and they've got a map, and Clara knows a lot about the Kingdom of Wrenly and what's on the map because she helps her father deliver the bread. So there they are. Oh, it looks like they're in a carriage. See there in the carriage, sir? Okay. Rainbow frost. Wrens, the small brown birds that gave the kingdom its name, twittered in the treetops as Lucas and Clara boarded the royal carriage. They would travel through flat frost and over the bridge to the island of Primlocks. Okay, they travel through flat frost over the bridge to the island of Primlocks. Okay, let's look at the map. Okay, there's the palace. That is flat frost. That was that says flat frost, and there's the island of Primlocks. Okay, that's one of the places that she was at. She went to Primlocks, and she was at Hobsgrove, and she was at Birth. I'm talking about the queen now from the first half of the story. So she lost her emerald necklace, or her emerald in one of these places. Okay. Lucas stuffed his map of the kingdom in his back pocket, just in case they needed it. 4 magical islands surrounded the mainland of Wrenly. Primlocks was ruled by the fairies. Okay, there's Primlocks. It says Primlocks, Primlox. That's a fairy. Hobsgrove was known as the Island of Wizards. Hobsgrove, wizard. The king's dragons roamed the island of Crestwood. Crestwood, okay, that's another island. That's a dragon. And Birth belonged to the trolls. See, remember about Birth and the trolls because that's where Pegasus went in the last story to eat the Enderberries. All the islands were protected by the kingdom of Wrenly, but each island was a smaller kingdom unto itself. King Caleb had to work very hard to keep the lands united. Sometimes there was trouble, but for now all was well. As the carriage entered Primlocks, Lucia, I keep saying Lucy when I see Lucas, just because I'm always thinking about Lucy. Lucas and Clara saw the fairy queen Sophie. Okay, Sophie is a fairy queen. Floating, maybe that's her, floating before her castle. Queen Sophie had shimmering gold wings and a rainbow jeweled tiara. That's a tiara. You wear it on your head there. All the fairies wore clothes made from ferns, feathers, acorns, and flowers. Clara could tell that they had used enchanted thread to sew their clothes together because all of their outfits sparkled. Thousands of smooth pebbles formed Queen Sophie's castle, and the roof was shingled with shells, and the windows were made of sea glass buffed by the cobalt sea. The fairies fluttered toward the carriage. "Welcome, Prince Lucas," said Queen Sophie. Queen Sophie, she says, "Welcome." There she is, Queen Sophie. "Thank you," said Lucas. Oh, hold on. It's Grandmommy again.
Hello.
Yeah, we just started this time. We're looking for the Queen's lost emerald. We're looking for it on the island of the fairies.
Yes.
Yeah, Grandmommy came in. She's working outside again today. We have a nice sunny day. She's working out in her garden.
Yes.
All right. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, Grandmommy. There she goes. Back to her garden. Okay. If I were writing this book, I'd have a whole island of Grandmommy's garden. And then that could be part of the story when people go to Grandmommy's garden to see what's going on there. Okay. Now, so Lucas says to Queen Sophie says, "Welcome, Lucas." And Lucas says, "Thank you. This is my friend Clara. We've come in search of my mother's lost emerald. She said she visited Primlocks just yesterday. I'm saddened to hear of her loss," said Sophie. See, they're walking around now. "Follow us, and we'll help you retrace her steps." Okay, so there's Queen Sophie. She's on the bridge. Lucas and Clara followed the fairies along a path. They crossed over an arched bridge and into the garden of strawberries. All the fruit in the kingdom of Wrenly was grown in Primlocks. But Primlocks was also known for its sweet orange blossom honey. In the middle of the garden of strawberries, Clara saw little round tables. See, there's little round tables. Little round tables carved from tree stumps. Braided twig chairs and red and white dotted stools made of mushrooms surrounded each table. Queen Tasha, see that silly? These are mushrooms, and they're all around the table. Queen Tasha had mint tea and berries in the garden, Queen Sophie said. She sat over there. Okay, so Sophie is telling Lucas where the queen sat, so they'll know where they should look for the emerald. Clara and Lucas began to search for the emerald. They look around the tables, under the chairs, and throughout the whole garden. But the only thing they found was a ladybug. Here it is. See the ladybug? It's on Clara's finger. "Ladybugs are a sign of good luck," said Queen Sophie with a smile. "We could use a little luck," said Lucas. "Follow me," said Queen Sophie. "Your mother also strolled through the maze of hedges." "What's the maze of hedges?" asked Clara. "It's a maze formed by many rows of trimmed bushes," Queen Sophie explained. Okay, a maze is something that is circuitous that you have to walk through. It winds back and left and right and winds back again, and you have to find your way out. But it's not a straight line. It's a zigzaggy garden with hedges. Lucas and Clara stepped into the maze. See, this is the maze. They're stepping into it, and all they can see is their turns. You can turn left, you can turn right, you can go straight ahead. You try to find your way out. They stepped into the maze. They followed a path between the hedges. They couldn't see over the tops of the bushes, but that didn't matter since they had to keep their eyes on the ground. Okay, hang on. I'm having some coffee here. This is my cup of coffee. Let me take a sip. They zigzagged through the narrow dirt paths in search of the emerald. See, this is what the maze looks like from the top. If you can see down into it, it's somewhat easy to see which way you should turn if you can see it from the top. But when you're in it, you can't see over the top, so you don't know which way to turn. They zigzagged through the narrow dirt paths in search of the emerald. Sometimes the path led to a dead end. Then they had to turn around and go the other way. Sophie and her ladies-in-waiting flew overhead to help guide them. They wound their way to a fountain at the center of the maze. See the fountain in the picture there? Okay. There was no sign of the emerald. Boo. They searched the other part of the maze until they reached the exit. Still, no emerald. Lucas and Clara sat down on some mushroom stools to rest. They're sitting on mushrooms. 4 fairies greeted them with a tray of lemonade. A small, nervous-looking fairy named Rainbow Frost fluttered up to Lucas and Clara. Okay, this is Rainbow Frost. That's a nice name, Rainbow Frost. "I may have a clue to finding the lost emerald," said the fairy in a high-pitched voice. "What is it?" asked Sophie. I saw a lovely green stone in the citrus grove yesterday. I was going to pick it up, but my hands were sticky from collecting honey. I washed them in the fountain, but when I returned, the stone was gone. Okay, so Rainbow Frost is talking about it. See, there's the emerald. And Rainbow Frost said she saw the emerald, but her hands were sticky. She went to wash them. She came back, and the stone was gone. Did my mother visit the grove? Asked Lucas. I'm afraid not, said Sophie, but it's possible that a bird may have mistaken the stone for food and dropped it there. Oh no, cried Clara. That means another bird could have carried the stone anywhere. That's true, Rainbow Frost said, but I'm not sure that that's what happened. Why not? Asked Lucas. Because I saw a big troll in the circus grove, Rainbow Frost said. And everyone knows trolls cannot resist treasure. Do you know his name? Clara asked. His name is Hambone. Hambone. So that would be like the bone of a ham that you might have for dinner. His name is Hambone, the fairy said. We must leave for birth at once, declared Lucas. Let's go, Clara said. Queen Sophie loaned Lucas and Clara a boat to sail to birth quickly. She also gave them a bundle of treats, which Clara tucked into her satchel. Lucas and Clara thanked the fairies and waved goodbye. Okay, so they're going to take the boat over to Birth and find Hambone the troll to see if he might have taken the emerald. There's a troll right there. He's got a little kitty cat on his lap. Okay, this is Chapter 7. Chapter, C-H-A-P-T-E-R, Chapter 7. Hambone, H-A-M-B-O-N-E, Hambone. Nobody greeted Lucas and Clara on the island of Birth. The trolls were neither friendly nor outgoing. They worked hard and grew vegetables for the entire kingdom. The kids walked to the stables in the village. Lucas tapped a sleeping troll on the shoulder. The troll snorted and rubbed his eyes. What do you want? He grumbled with one eye closed. We'd like to hire a horse, said Lucas. That means rent a horse. What for? Asked the troll. To visit a troll called Hambone, said Lucas. Do you know where he lives? Pay up, said the troll. Lucas dropped a coin in the troll's grubby hand. The troll smiled and bit the coin. That's because he wants to make sure it was real. You bite it to make sure it's real in the olden days. He lives on Old Tinder Road. His door is marked by the sign of a crescent moon, said the troll, and don't tell him I sent you. Okay, so now they have the horse, and they're going through the troll village. See the troll there? That's kind of funny. There's a troll who's plowing, and there's a troll pulling the plow, excuse me. So they're going to go find Hambone. So Lucas and Clara mounted the horse and galloped along the rugged valley floor. Steep, craggy mountains towered over the island of Birth. The air smelled of garlic. They passed fields of corn, rows of turnips, and gardens of parsley. Soon the road began to go up. It twisted around and around a mountainside. Lucas and Clara passed cave dwellings along the way. See the picture there? There's a picture. There's a troll. And now, remember, the troll said he lives in a house that has a crescent moon on the door. That's a crescent moon. Okay. They passed cave dwellings. Whoa, back! Clara cried as she jerked the reins. We just passed a crescent moon. They tied the horse to a hitching post, right there, a hitching post, and knocked on the cave door. marked with a crescent moon. They knocked on the cave door marked with a crescent moon. A pot-bellied troll with green eyes and wild gray hair answered the door. He looked Lucas and Clara up and down. Here he is. Keep him on the left. We came for Queen Tasha's lost emerald, said Lucas. Do you have it? The troll recognized the boy as the prince. He knew better than to play games with the son of the king. I found it in the citrus grove when I was gathering oranges, said Hambone. Big grins spread across Lucas's and Clara's faces. But I no longer have it, he said gruffly. I traded it for some hair smoothing potion. Hair smoothing. So he's got wild hair and he wants to put hair smoothing potion on his hair. So he traded the emerald to someone. He no longer has it. Little sip of coffee. Lucas' smile disappeared. So where is it now? Who has it? A wizard, said Hambone. Which one? Lucas demanded. A wizard named Olaf. Olaf, we remember that name. This is a different Olaf, though, not the same one in Frozen. So a wizard named Olaf has it, said the troll. Now, be off. The trolls are kind of nasty. And he shut the door with a thump. Looks like this adventure is far from over, cried Lucas. To Hobsgrove. Okay, so now they're going to Hobsgrove. See here the map? They were at Primlocks. That's where the fairies were. And then they took the boat, sailed all the way around over to Birth. And now they need to go to, what did we say? Hobsgrove. That's where the wizards are. So now we need to go all the way back down here to Hobsgrove. So that's what they're going to do. Lucas and Sarah raced back to the dock, boarded their ship, and sailed to Hobsgrove, the island of wizards. Chapter 8. That's the 8. Olaf. Okay, now we're going to meet Olaf the wizard. Not Olaf the, what was Olaf in the, was he the snowman? Was Olaf the snowman, or was it, I'm not sure, I don't remember. You can tell me when I see you next week. Remind me who Olaf was. Maybe it was a snowman. The ship sailed past the island of Crestwood. Crestwood, okay. Just make sure we're on the case. They're in Birth. Here's Crestwood. That says Crestwood. 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 So they're in Birth. They sail past Crestwood, and there's the boat right there. I can see it on the map. There's the boat. There's the boat. On to Hobsgrove. Here we go. Chapter 8. The ship sailed past the island of Crestwood. Dragons played on the hillsides and soared overhead. Some snoozed in caves. Okay, this is dragons. Okay, yeah, dragons is at Crestwood. They're talking about the dragons on Crestwood. Some snoozed in caves, and some under the trees of the great pine forest. A volcano puffed steam from the center of the island. Soon the ship docked at Hobsgrove. A thick cloud of fog hung over the island. Even when it was sunny everywhere else, Hobsgrove was always gray. Ivy creeped up the dark walls and spires of the castle where Andre and Grom, the two brothers who ruled Hobsgrove, lived. Andre was known to be very kind and friendly, but Grom was not. So we have a friendly wizard and an unfriendly wizard. He liked to keep to himself and spent most of his time in the dreary castle basement mixing potions. Many of the wizards on the island of Hobsgrove worked by the hearths of their thatched roof home. A hearth is like a fireplace. Their cauldrons, that's a big pot, iron pot of stuff that's boiling. Like if you want to make potions, you put a bunch of stuff in a big pot and boil it. That's a cauldron. Bubbled with magical healing made healing potions made for the kingdom of Wrenly. A young wizard, there we go, that's a cauldron. I was explaining that to you. They got some kind of magic potion in there. They're heating it with the wood that's burning underneath it, and they're stirring it, and there's the owl. He's mixing stuff in. A young wizard brought Lucas and Clara to Olaf's dark, smoky house. Olaf stood over his cauldron as it foamed and frothed. Lucas asked the black-bearded wizard if he had the missing emerald. The wizard shook his head glumly. "No," he said, "that dreadful witch from Bogperp cursed me with clumsiness years ago." Clumsiness. He said, "That dreadful witch from Bogperp cursed me with clumsiness years ago." Okay, so he's cursed with clumsiness. That's why he doesn't have it. "What does that have to do with the missing emerald?" asked Clara. The wizard looked at them with sad brown eyes. "The emerald fell from my hand after I returned home from birth. It tumbled over Hobbs Cliff and into the sea." Oh, he dropped it. "Oh no," Lucas cried. "That emerald belonged to my mother, Queen Tasha." "That's most unfortunate," said the wizard. "Do tell her I'm sorry." Lucas kicked a stone on the path as he and Clara headed back to the dock. "What are we going to do now?" he asked. "Go diving for it?" "I have a better idea," said Clara. I wonder what the idea could be. Maybe they need to find some friends who can look for it under the water. What kind of friends might look for an emerald under the water? Let's see. So Clara says, "I have a better idea. Let's go to Mermaid's Cove." That's right, mermaids. "What for?" "So we can leave a message in the sand for the mermaids," replied Clara. "And how is that going to help?" "Maybe the mermaids can find the emerald," she explained. "They always find the most beautiful shells and leave them on the beach for me." That's nice. The mermaids leave nice shells for Clara on the beach. "And how do you know it's the mermaids and not the tides?" Lucas asked. "Because the shells are polished and perfect. None of them have been broken by the rocks and waves." Lucas sighed and looked toward the mainland. "It's worth a try," said Clara. "I suppose," Lucas said. So they boarded their ship and headed for Mermaid's Cove. And back to the map. Okay, so they're at Hobbs Grove. They were at Berth. First they at Primlocks. They sailed around to Berth. They went past Crestwood to Hobbs Grove, and now they are sailing to Mermaid's Cove. Right there, Mermaid's Cove. Let's see now. Where were we? So they boarded their ship, and they're off to Mermaid's Cove. There they are on the ship. Chapter 9. Mermaid Magic. Mermaid Magic. And there's Clara. And what do you think Clara's doing? She's writing a message in the sand for the mermaids, because the mermaids, she can't really see them. They're under the water and they can't come up. They're not supposed to meet human beings, and human beings aren't supposed to meet them. So she has to leave them a message. At Mermaid's Cove, see, this says Mermaid Magic. That's the M. Mermaid Magic. M. At Mermaid's Cove, the pink coral sand sparkled in the afternoon sun. Lucas and Clara kicked off their shoes and walked along the beach, looking for the perfect spot. "Here's a good place," said Clara as she got down on her knees. Lucas looked on as Clara wrote a message in the sand with a thin stick. And this is what the message said. Here's the message. It says, "Dear mermaids, Queen Tasha's emerald is lost in the sea off Hobbs Cliff." Hobbs Cliff, that's in Hobbs Grove. It's Hobbs Cliff. There we are. See, this is Hobbs Cliff. Hobs Cliff. Hobbs Cliff. Okay, so it's right there in the sea. Right down there. So the mermaids are going to look for it. So the note says, Queen Tasha's emerald is lost in the sea off Hobscliff. Can you help us find it? Thank you for all the beautiful shells. Love, your friend, Clara. Lucas laughed. You're crazy, he said. Clara laughed. I'm also hungry. Let's go have our picnic. Clara unwrapped the treats that the fairies had given them. Then she and Lucas sat by the far end of the cove. They talked and laughed and nibbled on bread, cheese, and grapes. Bread, cheese, and grapes. There they are. They're taking a break. They're having a little picnic out on the beach. Doesn't that sound lovely? You remember what the beach is like? You've been at beaches before. I don't think you're near a beach now, but that sounds like a lovely thing to do. Just to sit out there on a blanket and have a picnic. They talked and laughed, nibbled on bread, cheese, and grapes. Lucas smiled at Clara. I may not have found my mother's emerald, he said, but I have found one thing. What? Asked Clara. A real friend, Lucas said. A real friend. That's so neat. There they are. They're the two friends. They took their shoes off. They're walking along the beach where the water's coming up a little bit in the wet sand. They didn't find the emerald yet, but they found each other, and they're good friends. Clara says, I'm glad we can spend time together. Lucas nodded. We better get going. The sun's starting to set. Lucas and Clara dipped their toes in the water as they walked down the beach. Look at your message, said Lucas. It's already been washed away by the tide. Yep, the water came up and washed it away, but maybe that's how it gets to the mermaid. The water then takes the message to the mermaid. Maybe. Shall I write it again? Asked Clara. No, let's just head home, Lucas said. We can come back tomorrow. They sat on a rock to put on their shoes, but some shells caught Clara's attention. Wow, those are beautiful, she said. Lucas looked at the cluster of shells, perfectly displayed on the sand. Were those shells here when we arrived? He asked. No, said Clara. Her eyes grew wide. The mermaids! The mermaids! See, the shells mysteriously appeared. It's the mermaids. Mermaids again? Asked Lucas. I think Lucas doesn't believe in mermaids. That's the problem. I'm serious, said Clara as she gently placed a shell in her satchel. Clara loved to collect seashells. But we've been on the beach the whole time, said Lucas, and we didn't see a single mermaid. See, there they are. They're on the beach, and what do we see here? It's a mermaid tail. So maybe Lucas didn't see the mermaid, but the mermaid was there. Well, said Clara, mermaids are very shy. She picked up a half-open scallop shell and peeked inside. They're so sly that I've never even seen one, said Lucas. Clara handed the shell to Lucas. It's pretty, he said. Open it, said Clara. Lucas opened the shell. He expected to see a clump of sand, but he saw something else. My mother's emerald, he cried. How could it be? Mermaids, said Clara. Lucas gazed out to sea. Then he looked at the emerald. He couldn't believe it. Okay, he shouted to the sea. I believe, I believe. Lucas ran back to the shore and stooped to write in the sand. Okay, so Lucas is writing a message to the mermaid. Dear mermaids, thank you for finding my mother's emerald. Clara and I hope to meet you someday. Your friends, Prince Lucas and Clara Gills. Lucas put the emerald in his pocket. Clara placed the empty scallop shell in her satchel. For my collection, she said with a smile. I never would have found this without you, he said. What are friends for? Clara asked. Lucas smiled. Race you to the palace. Then they quickly put on their shoes and ran off. Chapter 10. Another sip of coffee here. This is the good part. This is where they get to go back and tell King Caleb and Queen Tasha that they found the emerald. And what do we see here? What are King Caleb and Queen Tasha doing? It looks like they're playing chess. Scallop, S-C-A-L-L-O-P, scallop. That's a kind of mollusk or animal from the water that you can eat. It's round. If you've ever eaten a scallop, it's round. That's the meat of the scallop. Lucas and Clara burst into the palace's great hall. King Caleb and Queen Tasha looked up from their chess game. "What's all the fuss?" asked the startled king. Lucas reached into his pocket and wrapped his fingers around the emerald. "We have a very special present for Mother," he said excitedly. Lucas pulled his fist out of his pocket. Then he opened his hand to reveal the emerald. Queen Tasha put her hand to her heart. "Oh, you precious, brave, wonderful boy," she exclaimed. "It wasn't me, Mother," said Lucas. "Clara found it." "We both did," Clara said. "It was a real royal goose chase," Lucas added, "but Clara was the one who actually found it. She's very clever, Mother." "Thank you, Clara," said the queen. Clara curtsied. King Caleb was very grateful. "You shall receive a handsome reward," he said. "Follow me." A handsome reward. Lucas, Clara, and Queen Tasha followed King Caleb through a heavy oak door and down a spiral stone staircase. They walked all the way to the royal stables. The king stopped in front of a stall. A beautiful brown horse with a black mane, black tail, white socks, see a little white above the hooves, and black hooves whinnied at them. Whee! That's the whinny. Wow, that's a beautiful horse. I wonder what the name is. "Clara, this is your reward," said the king. Clara gasped. "You may ride her whenever you visit the palace." "She's beautiful," cried Clara as she pet the horse's mane. "Thank you, King Caleb." "What would you like to call her?" asked the king. Clara looked into the horse's eyes. "I'd like to call her Scallop," she said, "because we found the emerald in a scallop shell." A scallop shell. "A very good choice," said the king, and he put his arms around Lucas and Clara. "I owe you two an apology. I'm sorry I didn't let you play together before." "That's okay," Clara said. "We know it's hard being a king," Lucas added. The king and queen laughed. Then they went back to the palace. Clara linked her arms through Lucas's. "Hey, friend, will you go riding with me?" Lucas smiled. "I sure will." And there they go. They're riding together. Wouldn't that be fun to have your own horse? Just go riding with your friend whenever you want to. That's Ivan, and that's Scallop, that's Clara, that's Prince Lucas. And I think that's the end of the story. That's right. That's the end of the story. That was the story of the Kingdom of Wrenly, the Lost Stone. This was part 2. And I'll see you next time. Bye-bye, girls.